powerful new film, part of Turner Broadcasting.
And I'm not.
Art Modell's team has no name, but it does have a new coach, as do the Colts. We'll tell you who is amongst the gainfully employed. Our SportsCenter crew has full coverage of the Daytona 500 and its 125-mile little cousins. And could there be a great arrival in New York? Speaking of arrivals, 10 teams open spring training as camp is in session for the boys of summer. And tonight's cover story, Bret Saberhagen and the rocky road back from shoulder surgery.
I think all I need is a rubber ducky.
Well, we can't help you there, but we do have SportsCenter, and it's next. Hello and welcome. Thanks for joining us once again on SportsCenter along with Charlie Steiner. I'm Brett Haber. Susie Culber steps aboard in just a couple of minutes. So we start tonight with the man for whom the word fight has taken on brand new meaning.
Tommy Morrison has entered a time and place and space he's never been before, and today he took his first step in that new place. This time last week, Tommy Morrison was in Las Vegas completing his pre-fight physical. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary until last Friday when the results of what he thought was a routine HIV test came back. And then in a flash, his world changed, his career ended, his life was dealt a full-scale body blow. Morrison immediately went into seclusion, hoping a second HIV test would contradict the results of the first. Today, the results of the second test came back. They were indeed the same as the first. 45 minutes later, Tommy Morrison talked publicly for the first time.
I honestly believe that I had a better chance of winning the lottery than contracting this disease. I have never been so wrong in my life. I realize that there's a whole generation of kids out there like me that have totally disregarded our moral values that were taught to us by our parents. We've somehow seemed to treat sex as some kind of social activity rather than a monogamous expression of love. I hope that I can serve as a warning that living this lifestyle can only lead to one thing, and that's misery. I'd ask that you no longer see me as a role model, but see me as an individual that had the opportunity to be a role model and blew it. I don't know how I got it. I don't know, and it's really not important. I think there's very few people out there that really give a crap how I got it. It's what I do from this point on. I certainly believe that it is possible. Picking it up fighting. I've worked with thousands of sparring partners over the years. I've had 49 fights, and I've led a promiscuous lifestyle. So, go fish. I've never been so stupid in my life. You never think that something like this could ever happen. But I'm here to tell you, you know, I thought I was bulletproof, and I'm not.
Lennox Lewis, who was Morrison's last opponent back in October in Atlantic City, says that he is confident that he was not exposed to HIV. It was a fight in which Morrison shed blood, but Lewis did not. Lewis says he is in no hurry to get an AIDS test, but he will have one at the end of the month as part of mandatory screening for boxers in Great Britain. Lewis says he is praying for the man he defeated in 6 rounds 4 months ago. Brett?
We turn to football news now, and the team that has no name and only recently got a new city has hired itself a new coach. Ted Marchibroda takes over as head man for the Artists, formerly known as the Cleveland Browns. Marchibroda, now 64, replaces Bill Belichick, who fell victim to coaching's most famous euphemism, the need to head in a new direction. And so once again, we have Art Modell at a press conference.
The last time, I believe, I spoke to this assembled group and then some was the day of the announcement on November 6th. It's been a very, very uneventful period since then. I am ecstatic at the prospects of what Teddy Marchibroda can do for this franchise.
The important thing is, I think we have a good football team here. It's not a 2-12 team, which I took over the first time. It's not a 1-15 football team that I took over in Indianapolis. So I think it's a football team that can win immediately, and that's exactly what we want to do.
As for how excellent Ted's adventure might be next year, these are the numbers on teams the year after they've moved. Things seem to start out well, but not a single team since 1983 has had a winning record the year after its uprooting. Charlie.
It came as no surprise, but the timing was at the very least coincidental. 6 hours after Ted Marchibroda was named the new coach of the Baltimore franchise, Lindy Infante was promoted from offensive coordinator to head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. The 55-year-old Infante was the only candidate for the job once Marchibroda was shown the door.
We can't sit around and worry about how we're going to be compared to somebody. We have to go out and do our own thing now. And there'll be some changes, certainly. You know, anytime you change somebody at the top, or just like when coordinators were changed last year, there's a different philosophy there. I've got some things that I will certainly change just because my philosophies are a little bit different.
Lindy Infante joins an interesting group of coaches who had been head men, were fired, became coordinators, and became head coaches a second time. And in most cases, they weren't all that much improved, although Marchibroda is about to undertake his third head coaching stint. Brett?
New York City already has some of the most elaborate immigrant communities in the country, and now Little Italy and Chinatown may be joined by Little Edmonton. The Rangers, who already have a host of former Oilers on the team, continue to lead the league in Wayne Gretzky speculation. ESPN's Al Morganti has learned that the latest deal would send Gretzky to the Rangers in exchange for Luc Robitaille and one of the Ranger youngsters, possibly Alexei Kovalev or Nicholas Sundstrom, though the Rangers quite reluctant to release one of their young stars. Morganti adds that the St. Louis Blues are also still in the running. Gretzky himself says he doesn't know any more than we do about the trade speculation. Other NHL news, Devils defenseman Scott Stevens learned that the injury he suffered Sunday against the Ducks was a fractured cheekbone. The All-Star will see a specialist to find out when he can play again. Jeremy Roenick should be playing again tonight against the Bruins. The Blackhawks centerman suffered a fractured jaw and a concussion last week against the Blues. We'll see if he makes it back. And Flyers center Joel Otto sprained his left knee in a game last night against the Panthers. He left in the second period. He will be reevaluated shortly. One other hockey note, Tony Granato underwent surgery Wednesday to remove a hematoma from his head. Doctors say the 4-hour procedure went well and that the Kings winger is recovering nicely. Granato checked himself into the hospital after suffering severe headaches. It is not known if and when Granato will return to play. Charles.
Forget the silly notion that some groundhog in Pennsylvania is the harbinger of spring. No, it is these 4 magical words: pitchers and catchers reporting. And that they are doing in Florida and Arizona, and this, of course, is the time of the season for euphoric optimism. After all, nobody's lost a game yet, and everybody's a pennant contender. Yankees figure to be one, even under new management and a new spring training facility. Peter Gammons reports tonight from Tampa.
The Yankees came out of their winter caves, and it was all new. New York native manager, new former cross-borough hero, new $5 million left-hander, new catcher, new former Yankee stopper pitching coach, new general manager, even new spring training ballpark. While rain drove them back inside, the 1996 Yankee pitchers put on their pinstripes for the first time and seemed blinded by the light, the anticipation of a staff of extraordinary potential, including 5 starters who at some point in their careers have won between 17 and 24 games.
You named 4. You're talking about Coney and Gooden and Pettit and Rogers. And then the 5th starter, I mean, it could come out of Kamenicki, could be Jimmy Key. I mean, it's a lot of fun for me right now. I think we'll have great balance.
I think everybody is pretty confident about what our own abilities are and what we can do together. And knowing that there's a solid guy going out every 5 days, it helps.
If this Yankee pitching staff is going to equal its anticipation, 2 things have to happen. Jimmy Key has to come back by May or June, and the resurrection of Doc Gooden's life and career has to turn out to be one of the great stories of the '96 season.
And just prepare myself, you know, once the season starts, and just work hard for us going in and for us letting people down. That's got me into trouble in the past with the problems I've had. So I just got to go out and have fun and work hard.
Sure, it's only pitchers and catchers, but listen. The February promise of the guns of August. In Tampa, this is Peter Gammons, ESPN.
Thanks, Peter. You could call it a dry run for the Super Bowl of stock car racing. Today in Daytona, the twin 125s. 2 races to set the rest of the field for Sunday's $3.6 million race. The only 2 drivers not affected are Dale Earnhardt and Ernie Irvan, who qualified for the front row last Saturday. After today, drivers pretty much know who they're going to have to beat to win. Mike Tirico heads up our pit crew in Daytona.
Susie, the pits and grandstands behind us very active today. Over 100,000 for a major sporting event on a Thursday. The two major storylines coming into the Twins ended up playing out. Number one, Dale Earnhardt. Would he win a 7th Twin 125 in a row? And Ernie Irvan, can he make the next step on his comeback 18 months after his near-fatal accident? More on Irvan in a second. Ernie was on the pole for the second 125. Bottom right, you see Rusty Wallace, tapped by Joe Ruttman, had to escape down pit road, would re-enter, but finished 22nd and will start from the back of the pack on Sunday. Lap 20, Ken Schrader goes high on his teammate, defending Cup champ Jeff Gordon. Schrader in the number 25s moves into second. Last lap, Schrader and pole sitter Irvan. Ernie led all the way out of turn 4. You will see they touch, but Irvan still able to hold off Schrader and Gordon and win the 125. Irvan already on the outside of row 1, leads all 50 laps. The place you see next to each driver is the row they start from Sunday. A great run for John Andretti, Mario's nephew, 27th place finish last year. Defending Cup champ Jeff Gordon starts outside row 4 after falling short, battling Ernie.
If anybody had any questions about your vision or your depth perception or anything about you driving a race car on the super speedway, I think you put them to rest today.
Well, I hope so. All the doctors have done a great job with me and been able to, get my vision back. It's not 100%, but as far as where I needed to look at on the racetrack, I can see really good. And, I just, appreciate all the stuff that everybody's done, all the fan support. It's unbelievable.
I went and saw Ernie 12 days after he wrecked, and I wouldn't have given 10 cents for just leading a normal life. Went and saw him 22 days after he wrecked, and there wasn't a doubt in my mind that he wouldn't be back. And, his eye surgery and stuff, I would have done all that same racing with Ernie if he'd have still had the patch. He's back full strength, more determined.
He was just a gem of a race driver, and he's a good guy, too. Really good friends. So it wasn't just a business relationship. When he got hurt, we all hurt. And we suffered a little bit, but man, he's back. He is back, and he's good. And we're happy to have Ernie back.
Emotion and smiles today at Daytona. Others of note making the 500 field from this race: Steve Grissom, the car with the Flintstone characters on it. Jeff Purvis on the pole for Saturday's Busch race, starts 34th Sunday. Rusty Wallace uses a past champions provisional. He starts at the back of the 43-car field. Race 1, Sterling Marlin goes inside and passes number 3 Dale Earnhardt for the lead. Marlin led for 29 laps. Lap 30, Earnhardt. We'll watch him make the move, going inside and taking the lead back from the two-time defending champ Marlin. We had some rain and a couple of cautions in this race. Then lap 44, Brett Bodine veers into Bobby Labonte. Labonte flips onto his roof, slides, then flips back upright. We'll tell you where those guys ended up in a little bit, but after the restart, Marlin couldn't catch up to Earnhardt. Dale Earnhardt wins a 7th straight 125. Yes, that is 7. Will this be the year the 0 for 17 drought in the 500 ends? Sterling Marlin right behind Dale to start chasing the three-peat. Wally Dallenbach's car, sponsored by Hayes Modems, will start among the GMs, Kodaks, Fords, and Buds of the world in the first 5 rows. Now the Intimidator after the race with Dr. Jerry Punch.
Dale Earnhardt has won a 7th consecutive qualifying race at Daytona, and Dale, you made it look easy.
Well, it wasn't. Sterling was really strong, and it's just one of those things. You're just lucky to draft out and get out there, and they got to racing each other behind me. And Sterling, boy, he about got back to me there at that last corner, but that was the fortunate thing. We got by him, and then we could draft in front and sort of dictate how the race went.
First lap, he didn't waste any time making a pass and exerting his strength.
No, he didn't. And he said all week here, said, well, we got to work together. We got to work together. And I said, okay. And we was going down the backstretch. He pulls out the first lap. Looks like he wanted to work together, didn't it?
Yeah. Hey, the last restart, you saw how much muscle the 88 car had today and might have on Sunday.
Well, I think they're all going to be strong. I don't think it's just one race car. There's, the 28 and the 88 and the 4. I think the cars are going to beat the 4. If we can get our car a little better and tune it a little better, I think we'll be in good shape.
But today, Dale Earnhardt managed to do what he couldn't do a year ago, and that's pass Sterling Marlin.
Dr. Jerry, thanks. You see Bill Elliott and Kyle Petty, they're finishing these races. Bobby Hamilton among the 4 drivers.